Hey, what's going on, guys? Happy Wednesday. In this video, I wanted to go over subscriber submitted questions as well as show off the new stock in our subscriber portfolio. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. The first question comes from Christian Roberts, who is a fellow YouTube investor. If you guys haven't checked out his channel yet, I would implore you guys to do so, as he makes some great content over there. And when you guys stop by, let him know Biggest sent you. So anyway, his question is, what is my end goal with investing? And when I stopped and sat and thought about that question, I thought that it was important for me to go over some of the things that happened in my life that showed me why I should be invested in the first place. And then we'll tackle the actual question as to my end goal with it. So what I did was I wrote a couple bullet points that happened in my life, and it may come off as a story, so I ask you guys to just bear with me. And the other thing that I ask you guys to do is, there are some pretty crazy things that happen in my life. I'm not looking for any sympathy or anything else like that. I'm just showing you guys that some of these things helped make me see the power of saving and investing. So I'm going to start off. Me, my brother, and sister were raised by my grandparents. I was the oldest of 3 children that were given to them. As the doctors were aware, our mother was a drug addict who roamed the streets and was unfit to take care of us. Things were well for the first decade in my life, as our grandparents did all they could to support us. My grandfather was still working when I was young. But tough times were ahead when he suffered his first of 3 strokes that would ultimately land him in a nursing home. With the breadwinner being down and all of his Social Security money going to the nursing home, and he had no money saved up or invested, we lost our home by the time I was 14. We bounced around from apartment to apartment with my grandmother until I moved out when I was 20. My grandparents had 3 children. Their life stories would also teach me the importance of building something with someone you love and saving up for a rainy day just in case things didn't work out, as each one of them found themselves at some point or another cramped up with us in a 2-bedroom apartment when a reset button was hit on their lives. And I just want to stop there for a second because I just want to paint like a picture. I had 2 aunts and an uncle, and when my aunts' relationships didn't work out and they came back home, or came back to live with my grandmother, they had children that was taken with them as well. So, it was very difficult having 7 or 8 people in a 2-bedroom apartment, So that's neither here nor there, though. From 18 to 25, I worked as a retail store manager until my family was hit with 2 bombshells. My grandmother was diagnosed with a lung disease, and my aunt was diagnosed with colon cancer. She had a 2-year prognosis. I made a decision to quit my job and become a direct care worker for them so that I could facilitate their needs. When my aunt passed away, it created an even harder burden on me, as I had to pay for the funeral costs with money that I was saving to buy a house. She didn't have anything saved up and left behind 2 children who had an absent father. They were 16 and 20. The 20-year-old was just recently diagnosed with a mental health disability, and unfortunately, his mother was sick during his teenage years, so she wasn't able to take the time out to, get the support that he needed. So right now, he's been living with me for the last 4 years, as we're trying to get him situated so he can, have a productive life. His psychiatrist, they just did a evaluation on him, and he has it's ruled he has an intellectual disability. He has some type of autism. They're just not sure what spectrum it's on, and they've given him his IQ is 62. So they don't think that he can't do anything work related that would benefit him or let him have a productive life where he could live on his own. Moving on. From 25 to 30, by the age of 29, I saved enough money to put a down payment on a home. As soon as the mortgage was placed in my name, I thought of ways to instantly pay it off, as I hate debt and I didn't want my family to go through the same instances I went through when I was a child. As I was able to make my first extra payment on my mortgage, I thought about the ramifications if something ultimately did happen to me and I didn't finish paying off my mortgage. My family could potentially still lose the house, and all those extra payments were for nothing. I started looking into investing, and I would see the money I was saving to help pay off the mortgage grow and work for me. Essentially, it would help me pay it off faster as well, as the money would just grow. So basically with those bullet points that I told you guys, my end goal of investing right now is to create a safety net for my family should anything unexpected happen. Basically, expect the unexpected. By the time my portfolio reaches my mortgage value, I will assess our health physically and financially and figure out if we should just eliminate the mortgage altogether or if we should stay our course and continue to pay it off monthly. If we choose not to pay, the mortgage off with the money, then the money would change. The outlook of the money would change. It would go from a safety net to a retirement security and generational wealth. And I basically have that as, as something that the generations in my family forgot to do, is create generational wealth. So I don't want to keep hitting the reset button. I have 4 children of my own, and I want to leave them a nice nest egg and make sure that they understand the power of investing. So once again, thanks, Christian Roberts, for that question, as it really hit deep. The next questions that we got were from Adventures in Us. He's also a YouTuber, and Owensville. And in these questions, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to read them. They're asking, how do I go about researching the stocks I hold, and what stocks am I currently looking at? And how I answered the question was, because I'm playing with house money literally, I look into strong companies that have a moat, a strong 5-year outlook plan, and have multiple revenue streams. I use 98% fundamental analysis and 2% technical when entering and exiting positions. So the fundamental is why I'm getting into the stock, and then I really don't use the technical analysis when entering, but I use it when exiting. So it's probably like a 1 to 2% chance that I'll use technical analysis to try and figure out what type of dip the stock is going on. So I'll give you examples. Disney's 5-year outlook is they plan to have their direct-to-consumer service stocks, the direct-to-consumer business profitable within the next 5 years. So they're saying Hulu, ESPN, and their Disney Plus service will generate a profit. And I'd like to know what that stock is doing. So my next analysis of that stock will be in 2024 to figure out what is going on for the next 5 years of the company. And that's the same thing when I'm doing with Johnson&Johnson. Johnson&Johnson has multiple drugs that they're looking to hit the market by 2023. So I like to have a nice sizable position in those companies and look for the forward outlook so that I can look for the next 5 years as to why I'm still holding the company. I also have a couple notes that I had when I was following Johnson & Johnson that I'd like to share with you guys. So here it is. It says the technical and fundamental analysis makes sense for me to start my bull run on Johnson & Johnson. They were sitting at all-time highs in December before a report came out about them knowing that they knew that they had asbestos in their baby powder product. This report caused the stock to drop and make a 52-week low around that time. Proof that the fundamentals were in the stock came from the earnings reported that followed. There is a cause to be cautious in buying at these levels, however, as they are currently fighting a case in Oklahoma over opioids that, if found negligent, could see the company have massive lawsuits come forward. I have a 100-week plan to buy Johnson & Johnson where I will buy a share each week and replenish my dry powder reserves with extra capital and dividends. So if Johnson & Johnson may see a dip of 5% or lower on my average cost, I will deploy that dry powder right back into the stock. So that's basically like my plan on how I plan on targeting Johnson & Johnson. I know that last week when I told you guys that I was investing in Johnson & Johnson, I know a couple of you guys scoffed at the price of Johnson & Johnson. So I'm aware that Johnson & Johnson isn't where it was 3 months ago and that it is starting to move forward, but I will average down. I will buy a share each week and then try and save up a reserve of cash, and then if it does, drop down or anything else like that, then I'll deploy that cash. So that's how basically I assess stocks. And then what are the current stocks that I'm looking at? The current stocks I'm looking at are Activision, Blizzard, Sony, and Zillow. And I'm thinking about dumping my position of Apple into V&Q so that I can have a broader exposure to REITs as well as a bigger dividend. If I take all the cash that I have in Apple and dump it into V&Q, that's the Vanguard REIT, I will have a bigger dividend, more exposure to REITs. So it's something that I'm fighting with myself back and forth. Those were all of the subscriber questions that I received. So again, thank you, Christian Roberts of Adventures in Us and Owensville, for the great questions. Before I let you guys go, I know this has probably been a long video. I want to show you guys the position that I took. And the position that we took was in Uber. So right now our Uber position is positive 30 cents. We're up 0.3% in Uber. And we still have $60 left in buying power. So if you guys have any other stocks that you guys would like to see in the subscriber portfolio, just let me know, and we'll go from there. Other than that, I appreciate you guys taking the time out to listen to me ramble and go over your questions. If you guys have any other questions, we'll probably try to do this probably once a month or something like that. See how this goes. Just let me know in the comment section, and that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks for your time.